Hello everyone, my name is Sally-Ann Spence and we are here at the Jurassic fossil fish dig in the Cotswolds at Court Farm. We're on day 7 days in, so we're all getting a little tired, but this is really exciting because we have experts coming from all over the world. We've got students from 5 universities taking place, but we have with us today Dr. Sam Cooper from Stuttgart. You've come all the way here just to have a look at some of these fish.
Yes, and it's absolutely worth it because they are truly spectacular fossil fishes.
They are stunning. I mean, this is the fish that started it all off in a way, wasn't it? So can you tell us a little bit about the 3 that you've got out in front of you? Because these are stunning examples.
Yeah, they're beautifully preserved. So each 3 of these specimens were collected on the previous excavation, and they each belong to a group of extinct marine bony fishes called the pachycormids. Pachycormids are a group of, well, most of them kind of look a bit like tunas, others a bit more elongate, and then there's some more derived ones that live in the late Jurassic and the Cretaceous that did some very weird things. Some of them became suspension feeders, so somewhat convergent on modern whale sharks and basking sharks.
Okay, so just going around in the top of the water column.
Yeah, sort of feeding on plankton, and some other ones that grew these really long rostra and sort of resemble modern day swordfish. But we don't have those species yet in the early Jurassic.
Okay.
So the early Jurassic, to be more specific, the Toarcian, which is a very specific slice of time from the early Jurassic, which these rocks date to, recalled the earliest pachycormids known in the fossil record.
Oh, that's quite exciting, right?
Yeah, so it's really useful for understanding the origins of this very successful group, which unfortunately is no longer with us. But surprisingly, in the Toarcian, pachycormids is already very diverse. From across similar age sites in Europe, we have about 10 different genera already, so they diversified very, very rapidly when they first appear. And so far from the excavations, we found evidence for at least 3 species of pachycormids so far. Maybe should we start with one you have?
Let's go and have a look through these. So this is absolutely stunning, this one, because this is a 3D fossil, which is something we're really hoping to get more of from this particular site. So, I mean, it looks like a sort of almost tuna-like. It's obviously predatory because of the teeth.
Yes, it has these very quite large pointed teeth, ideal for catching prey. We do have complete examples of this species from the south of Germany, from a place called Holzmarden, very famous for its ichthyosaurs and ammonites. And we quite commonly find squids preserved in the stomachs of this species. So this was a squid hunting specialist.
Wow, that's the brilliant thing, because when you find something that has that sort of level of preservation and you have the stomach contents, then you are seriously looking at the food web and the ecosystem, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely.
And presumably, would that also potentially tell us where it's actually feeding in the water column?
Yeah, absolutely. So squids mostly live in the middle and upper parts of the water column. So we know that Cerostomus, that's the name for this particular pachycormid, was almost feeding in that same part of the water column.
That's just beautiful. And would this be, I mean, this potentially is not fully grown, is it? Or we don't know? Do we know the absolute species of this one? Or
yeah. So I'm quite confident this is a species called Cerostomus esochinus. The species was first described and named in the year 1832 by a Swiss paleontologist named Louis Agassiz. He only described it based on a lower jaw, which unfortunately the fossil's now lost. But we have since found numerous complete specimens, again from Holzmarden. There's one from Strawberry Bank, which is not too far away from here. That was collected by Charles Moore in the 1800s. And there's a few pieces of these also from Whitby. So it's quite a wide-ranging species. This one, in terms of size, is about sort of 3/4 fully grown. The head does get a bit bigger than this. We have pieces, though, of some Cerostomus from the south of Germany, which possibly reach up to 2 meters in total length. So the size of the maximum size of a modern yellowfin tuna.
Yeah, so a big fish, then capable of taking some very big squid.
Absolutely, and some of them also eat, and some of these are also eating other fishes as well. So it probably would have been one of the top predators in its ecosystem, other than, of course, things like ichthyosaurs.
Yeah. And this is a disarticulated head. There is nothing else going through the back there, so potentially eaten by somebody, like you said, the ichthyosaurs or something.
Potentially, although we also find a recurring preservation with fishes, especially in the sort of nodular limestones like these, where we just have a head with the mouth open. And what we think this is causing is either they've been decapitated due to feeding, or possibly when the animal has died, it's sunk headfirst into the mud with the mouth open, taken a big mouthful of mud they can see preserved here. Obviously, it's been prepared away to show the lovely teeth.
And that's kept it open?
Yeah, and that's kept it open. And then the rest of the body was probably laying out on the mud, whereas it was exposed to scavengers and wave current and has been destroyed. Unfortunately, there are no traces of the rest of the fossil on the back of the nodule, so it's uncertain if this was a decapitation or if it's just an animal in which only the head's been preserved due to the angle in which it was laying in the mud.
Well, it's a fantastic fossil, isn't it?
It is spectacular, and it's one of the very few examples we have in the world of 3D preservation in this species. And actually, the only other 3D material comes from Strawberry Bank, so very nearby. So it just shows the spectacular scientific quality and importance of fossils like these.
This is the thing. This is an organised dig. This is a scientific dig. As I said, we've got students representing 5 different universities here, lots of different experts like Simon coming to visit us as well, and all the material going into Stroud Museum where it will be available for further research. So this is really, really important that this is how this sort of dig is done. Now, what have we got here?
Well, this one is incredibly special.
Gorgeous.
So this one is a juvenile example. So this is a very, very young individual. It's practically a baby. We can tell it's a baby, one, because of the very small size, and secondly, because under the microscope, perhaps you can't really see it too clear here, but quite a lot of the bones that we normally see mineralized, things like the vertebrae and some bones in the tail and the skull, have not yet fully, what we call ossified, so haven't yet fully developed.
Ooh, we've got Emily working the camera. Emily, if people can just bear with us while we try and focus in for you, we might be able to pick up some of this. Can you point to?
So particularly if you might see in the spine region.
Can you get that, Emily? If you get a bit closer, go really close. We should be able to show people, hopefully at home.
Yeah. So you can see, like, it looks like it doesn't have any vertebrae at all. Yeah. It's just got a few little ribs coming off.
Yeah, you got that.
And there's also some stuff in the tail, but it's going to be difficult to see without a microscope.
Thank you.
And also it's got quite a large eye in relation to its head size. So there's lots of evidence to say this is a juvenile. This species belongs to, this specimen belongs to a species named Pachycormus. So it's a very, very well-known Tuarsian fish. It's known all across Europe. It is known from literally hundreds of specimens. However, almost every specimen is an adult. And this is a very rare baby example. And not only is it a baby, it is exceptionally well preserved, as I think we'll speak about in a moment. And it's quite interesting because it tells us that this particular species of Pachycormus was probably given birth in this area. So unfortunately, we only have the one specimen so far, so I don't want to jump to conclusions and say this was a nursery environment, but it's really nice to see that we've got the juvenile and the adult. So these are two different species of Pachycormus, but we do have pieces of Pachycormus that were found actually on this dig, which shows that we do have the adults as well. And the adults of this species can also reach up to 1 metre.
Wow.
So it just shows you like how...
it's got a lot of growing to do.
Yes. Unfortunately, this one probably didn't live for very long.
Would we be able to find any traces of stomach contents or anything in this? Is it preserved well enough? Is that something that we could possibly do?
Yes, absolutely. Some of the fishes already look to have some stomach contents. This one sadly does not. I've covered it over under the microscope, and there's nothing preserved in this one. But we do have quite a few examples from nearby sites, and as well as southern Germany, that very well record the diet of Pachycormus.
So what are they eating then?
So the juveniles up to about 30 centimetres in length, what we call an immature individual, they were eating almost exclusively smaller fishes.
Okay.
And actually there's a site in the north of France called Quercy, where the preservation is very, very similar to this. Probably was the same paleo environment and the exact same age. And almost all the juvenile Pachycormus there were cannibals.
Oh, they're eating each other then?
Yes, and we
find
find
the fittest.
Precisely, yes. We find smaller Pachycormus preserved in the guts of others. But these weren't adults eating the babies. These are like juveniles eating even smaller juveniles. So it's like teenagers eating newborn babies.
Would that be because of food availability then, or is that? I mean, what would potential triggers be to that sort of behaviour?
Well, so when we find cannibalism in modern fish populations, it's often due to some kind of stress in the environment. So, as you mentioned, or as you suggested already, a deficiency in prey availability. So, if the regular prey perhaps was only seasonal, so perhaps you have these big shoals of little fishes that came through and they were eating them, but there was a period when these fishes weren't there, and so they had to eat each other. It could also mean that it could also indicate a just very high abundance. So if there's millions of little babies spawning everywhere all the time, I don't think an older member of the same species is going to be that picky when it comes to picking food.
Eating something smaller than itself.
Yes. Yeah. So this one didn't get eaten, but has died from an unknown reason.
That's fantastic. Again, it's just stunning, and the eye preservation is just wow.
It's very, very rare to find eyes preserved in the fossil record, and this is one of the few sites in the world where we see eyes in almost every fish that we've been finding, which is really, really spectacular.
This is absolutely incredible, and do look back at our videos on YouTube as well. We dig fossils because I'm interviewing, I'm trying to think, Jacob Winter, and he was getting very excited about the eye preservation.
I can see why.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah. But that is incredible. And then we've got something here. It's quite a long fish. This is a very different shape, but is this in the same genus as these guys, family group, or?
So this is another genus of pachycormids. So it's not the same as these two. This one is, well, it belongs to a genus I think it belongs to a genus called Euphenotus. Euphenotus is a much more elongate pachycormid, so it's got quite a small head and a long rectangular body. Unfortunately, it's incomplete, so I'm missing the front part of the head. I'm missing the belly, missing this part of the belly, and the tail's gone.
Right.
So these just been laying outside the periphery of the nodule, which is unfortunate.
So although it looks like a sort of ely shape, it actually would have come down here a little bit then?
No. It would have been quite ely.
Oh, it is quite ely.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But you can see here, so this is the bottom of the body and the top. So it was very, very slim and narrow. So it probably have quite good manoeuvrability to move around.
So a predatory fish again?
Yes, we have a couple of examples of these that preserve smaller fishes in the gut from other sites. But this one is really spectacular. One, because it's got this beautiful preservation of the scales. Yeah. And secondly, I still need to look at this in more detail and confirm it. But if this is Euphenotus, it's the first example of Euphenotus to be found anywhere in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So it's an interesting first occurrence.
That's very exciting. Emily, could you come in and just pick up some of the detail on these scales? Bear with us while the camera goes in and out of focus slightly, but Emily should be able to get right in there and show you some of the stunning preservation. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. This is about 180 to 184 million years ago.
Yeah, around there.
Phenomenal time and just incredible preservation. I mean, on some of these as well, we've got mollusks here. We've got bivalves there, and we've got ammonite here. That's also helping us date and look a little bit at what's going on in the environment as well, presumably.
Yes, absolutely. So the ammonites quite will strongly suggest we're in a very particular slice of the Toarcian, a very particular layer called the exoratum subzone. And this means that we can actually correlate this bed all across the rest of the entirety of the world. And especially amongst Europe, this particular slice of time, we find a recurring preservation of this very sort of limestoney rocks, wherein we find these beautifully preserved fossils.
It's just stunning. It's just stunning. Now, you've got a UV torch there then, Sam. Have you been using that for any particular reason on these samples?
Yes. So what's really, really spectacular about when we find these lovely fossils, we get soft tissue preservation. And one of the really good ways to look for soft tissue preservation is to use ultraviolet light. I should have safety goggles on, but if I'm facing it away from me, it won't.
So you won't be able to see this, I'm
but so you have to do it in the dark. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with natural light.
Yeah. So what would it helps you pick up then?
So what it does is it picks up different types of minerals that have been preserved in the fossil, and things like calcite and things like little teeth, and certain tissues will fluoresce different colours. And for example, it's very good for showing soft tissue structures. So if you've got, for example, phosphatized gills, which we quite often find preserved in Tuarcian fossils at this age, they light up quite nicely. I've done a few tests in the dark with these specimens, and they do show soft tissues, which are really nice, which I think would be unfortunately very difficult to show on camera here. However, they're not as aesthetically pleasing as some other specimens I've looked at. Some specimens you shine the UV over and they light up like a Christmas tree. They are really, really beautiful.
Wow. It's just amazing. So I mean, you're looking at these three examples and these wonderful specimens you've got in front of you now. If you had a wish list, and they're busy excavating. We've got trench number 2. We've got nodules now being exposed all the way along. We've got a lot of photogrammetry and all sorts of things to do to get those nodules set and recorded before we dig them up and start splitting them. But what would be your wish list for things to find inside those nodules?
Oh, I have so many things I'd like to find. Well, I'd like to find more of this euphanotus. A nice complete 3D euphanotus would be spectacular. It would be nice to find some post-cranium materials, so it's like the body region of these fishes as well. And a pterosaur would also be quite nice. Yeah, preferably in the stomach of one of these. That would be even. That would be,
oh wow!
So
it's gone up and or had it when a pterosaur got in the water.
Well, hypothetically, I think they would have easily taken a pterosaur if they had the chance to.
Well, we see tuna jumping out of the water, don't we?
That's
something we do see.
They do, and some of them do hunt seabirds. So I have a pet theory that at some point something must have taken one of these pterosaurs from the water and eaten it.
Because a fish like that with a head like that, presumably with its body, is quite serious. How long would the body have been? So here's our head. Could you give us an indicator how long this fish might have been potentially?
Yeah. So the head's about a quarter to a fifth of the body. So this one would be just over a metre.
Yeah, so that's a big, powerful fish, isn't it? So that could propel itself out the water column and... Potentially.
We're not sure how well pachycormorants could breach. So that's the words of throwing themselves out of the water. But I imagine if something was sitting on the top of resting on the water surface, it would happily go and snatch it. So, yeah. It's wishful thinking. But,
it is wishful thinking, but it's not out of the realms of possibility at all. We do know that fish today will do that sort of behaviour, so... Absolutely. There's no reason why not. And if you're a hungry fish and there's a meal sat there, then... Yeah. Absolutely. So you're seeing what's your thoughts then from seeing these specimens? What's your thoughts about the health? Can I ask you this? I mean, it might be something you find difficult to answer because we just might have enough information. But what's your thoughts on the ecosystem and its health and what's going on?
Well, already, as I said before, we've got a very, very high diversity of fishes. Not just the pachycormorants, we've got lots of other groups of fishes as well. So this to me seems to suggest it was probably quite a dynamic story going on here. Lots and lots of different fishes, lots of different other animals all interacting. Again, we see adults and juveniles preserved alongside each other. Seems to me to represent a healthy ecosystem. Like we're not finding only juveniles with their stomachs full of even smaller juveniles. So, from the evidence I've seen so far, there's nothing to suggest this was a stressed environment. Probably quite a healthy one. We see benthos, so animals living on the sea floor. So there certainly was oxygen around, at least in certain parts. So, but we've obviously got a lot more investigation to do to really unravel the story of what's going on here. But every day we're finding more fossils and the story's getting more and more complicated, or as I like to say, getting more and more interesting.
Interesting, yes, absolutely. Yes. Well, Sam, you've come all the way over. You're only with us for a couple of days, so we ought to let you carry on with your research, but it's just fantastic to have you here. I know you've been in the main camp talking to all the students and everything, and that your knowledge on this is just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to have access to your knowledge as well.
I'm very, very happy to be here. It's a real pleasure.
This is a wonderful thing about this dig is that everybody gets their opportunity to talk and with people like Sam. It's just fantastic. So thank you so much, Sam, for your time and explaining these to us as well. Favourite one of these three fossils?
Difficult. I'll go with the juvenile just because it's a baby one and they're pretty cute.
Just stunning. We'll finish with Emily coming in to have a look at this because it is really fantastic. So have a look at that. And thank you so much, Sam, for going through these specimens with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for talking to me.